Can scriptwriters use AI to create the scripts for their movies and TV shows and still be credited as the first writer? Something came up in Hollywood this week and you are not going to believe what happened, but we do have an answer to this. Let's jump in and talk to everybody's favorite IP and entertainment lawyer for more.
My name is Tony Iliakostas. I'm an adjunct professor of entertainment law and IP at New York Law School, and I have an Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok account called The IP Professor that is dedicated to all things intellectual property.
Tony, something interesting happened this week in the world of whether or not we're going to allow AI-generated content to be copyrighted. And we had a company come out and say, yes, we're going to allow this, but then the news has flipped and it was actually misreported. So what happened and what do we need to know?
Yes, so really intriguing story. All that to say, TLDR, I'm very happy with the outcome that eventually is going to happen. So long short end of it is that the Writers Guild of America, according to Variety, a major trade publication in the Hollywood space, reported that the Writers Guild of America was going to allow the use of artificial intelligence in the creation of scripts, screenplays, anything related to the film or television productions of, movies, television shows, what have you. Originally, according to Variety, they said that WGA was going to ban AI, but apparently they've changed position on that. And according to the Variety article, it alluded to the fact that ChatGPT or other equivalent AI software would be used to basically prompt or solicit ideas or maybe even full-fledged scripts for shows that then would be given to writers or writers themselves could use those platforms. The one that also perplexed me was that studio executives could even hand over these AI-generated scripts or screenplays over to these writers that then would refine it, touch it up a little bit, and then finished product, when it's all said and done, they can submit it and they can make it into the show. And, they would get the full written by or credit as a first writer of that screenplay. Now, here's the problem with that, ladies and gentlemen. That's never gonna fly for a number of reasons. One, Hollywood studios, Hollywood production companies thrive off of registering every little aspect of a Hollywood and television show, from screen treatment to screenplay to the finished product and everything in between. And so if every Hollywood studio and Hollywood production company is out there registering the copyright to every little aspect of a television show, episode by episode, season by season, and for films, film after film after film, there's never going to be a world where they use AI to create a screenplay that then they can go to the U.S. Copyright Office and expect a full ride, complete copyright registration for that work. We've talked about that before with KM. You could check out the video in the link below or in the playlist. But the core of it is that the Copyright Office has recognized that anything that is generated by AI will never get copyright registration, mainly because it lacks the human authorship requirement that is, truly through the veins of copyright law. It goes hand in hand with originality. It goes hand in hand with the idea expression dichotomy. There are tons of policy arguments to make that human authorship is imperative in order to make an original work of authorship that's fixed in a tangible medium. So, and then not to mention the U.S. Copyright Office quite literally months ago came down on a decision related to a comic book graphic novelist who got a full copyright registration for a graphic novel that she created that included AI-generated artwork. It was erroneously granted to her, so the Copyright Office took it back, they re-reviewed it, and they ruled that only the aspects that the artist herself created, like the dialogue, the prologue, all those elements that she herself wrote, that's registered on copyright. But the AI-generated artwork is incapable of getting copyright, even though she said that she touched it up with Photoshop. So in the same vein, it's not going to happen here. There would never be a world where a Hollywood studio could be more reliant on AI and then have a writer come in and touch it up and then get full ride copyright registration, because it's just not going to happen. And then turns out that this whole story by Variety ended up being a total farce, because then the Hollywood Reporter reported this Thursday, March 22nd, that, at the end of the day, this is not going to, AI will never have a place in the Hollywood space. So, it seems very clear that the WGA is not going to recognize the use of artificial intelligence. Maybe writers can use it as a source of inspiration beyond anything else, but that's where the buck stops with AI.
Well, I think it's really interesting because recently we did have a discussion about how even if you are creating something and then manipulating it after the AI has produced it for you, that's not going to count. We've seen that in relation to that graphic novel. You cannot take artwork, change it, and then call it your own. I love that we now have an example of a text-based conversation where we are now seeing you cannot produce a screenplay or a novel or anything of the like, change a couple of words, and now have the ability to call it your own. And I love that they're taking a very active stand on this inside of Hollywood to make sure that people are actually protected with what they are creating and how they are doing things. So moving forward, do you see any potential use for AI in Hollywood?
So right now, the extent of it is, like I said, mainly as a source of inspiration for an idea, to at least get ideas for something. And ideas are never protected under copyright law. So if you go to an AI software, albeit ChatGPT or the Bing equivalent, whatever, and you say, give me ideas for sitcoms, it'll generate some ideas. But that idea, which will be a central synopsis, is not going to be enough for there to be some type of rejection of a copyright, because you're really just getting like a nutshell of an idea that then you can really then expand creativity as the writer to then build off of that. Now, the only other way I could see AI being involved in any aspect of Hollywood is if we see any change on the books and legislation with regard to artificial intelligence. Right now, it's ambiguous or non-existent in the Copyright Act of 1976. We do not have any active reference to it in any of the more modern copyright acts, like the Digital Millennium Copyright Act. We don't see any reference to AI under the U.S. Copyright Office Compendium, except for these recent decisions. And this is a growing medium that's quickly evolving. So the only way I would ever see any active change or active involvement of AI, not just in Hollywood, but across the space, in the author business, in the photography business, anywhere, any aspect of life, and where, you know, creativity runs deep. We don't have that active legislation. The only way I see a change is when Congress comes together and makes some type of active change to the law that will either expressly deny copyright registration for AI created artwork, AI created anything, or grants exceptions of when AI would be granted copyright protection. Or it could just say, hey, anything that's created by AI but then slightly modified by an author still will be valuable as copyright, worthy of copyright registration. But right now, we just don't have that, you know, in black and white. So the guidance that I would give to anybody is to definitely take, you know, AI use it as a tool and a resource, and not use it as the end all be all. And if you don't believe me, ask an attorney, because they're probably going to tell you the exact same thing, because right now it's the wild, wild west. And, you know, it's not the kind of thing you want to play around with.
And we always recommend that you are checking with your personal attorney before you're making any decisions inside of your business, whether or not to use this inside of your business, and whether or not to try to copyright anything that has been used with this inside of your business. But if you want to talk to everyone's favorite lawyer, Tony, where can everybody find you online?
You can find me on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at the IP Professor, and you can check out my brand new entertainment law podcast, End Scene, available every Friday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
We're going to continue to spill the tea on how AI is being used inside of the entertainment space and the entrepreneurial space, so make sure you hit that subscribe and notification bell. Tony's coming back for more episodes, so if you have questions, now is the time. Drop those down below. We want to make sure we're getting those answered for you. And every single day, we're dropping videos to help you navigate the world of social media marketing, growing your online business, and making more money online, but spending less time doing it while keeping you legally protected with the tools and resources we now have access to. I'll see you in the next episode.